All right, welcome everybody to another episode of Circle of the Earth Fellowship. We're gonna be getting on a great topic today. We're talking about truth and a little bit of specific truth, but we'll get into that like we always do as soon as we say hello to everyone on the panel. And we have our brother Frankie B here again as well. How you doing, Frankie? Oh yeah, and we got our dear sister Marsha with us as well. How are you doing, lovely sister? We're having sound issues, guys. Let's redo that. I just apologize. One more time, Frankie.
Go, people. It's Shabbat Shalom. It's Friday night. Let's party with some flat earth truth and some biblical truth, baby. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. We got a lot to share and a lot of interesting points to bring up. To say it again, sister, I don't know if you're here with us, but if you'd like to say hello, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Anyway, okay, good. Shalom, everyone, and everything's great here, except it's too darn hot.
Yeah, it's been hot
Shalom,
here
everyone.
too. Our AC's been chugging along. Our electric bill is quite outrageous this month.
Mine can't keep up with the heat, but it's keeping it
Livable.
nice enough, livable. Yes.
Yeah, totally. Well, sweet. Well, thanks for being here. And we got Nick Infinite, dear brother. How you doing?
Good, happy to be here. I don't really have anything else to add, though. Just glad to be with the squad.
Sweet. All right. Well, as you see, we're talking about truth now. Last episode, we talked about we were talking about profess, which was what Isaiah did, and he did it a lot. Even though we only covered just the first two chapters, it's a huge thing. Obviously, go read it for yourself. But we just wanted to kind of point out that beginning and kind of what he was saying to the people he was saying at the time, and kind of what it meant overall. But we're going to kind of take a sidestep with Isaiah. We're still in the book, but we're going to look at Isaiah 40 and specifically verse 22. But we'll read the whole thing in context, and then we're going to kind of chop that down a little bit, speaking of the circle of the earth, and then we have some other stuff, more scientific-based, news-based information when it comes to the place that we truly live. So I'm super excited to get about in it. I just want to take a second and shout out Windfeather. I saw you're gonna watch us later. Love you that you give us that. Pepper Mandy, our dear sisters here. Hope you're doing well. We got Luke Andrew in the chat. We got Gina Siska in the chat. And my dear wife, the Mrs. Vader. So thank you all for being here. And for those who were over on Take on the World, thanks for being here as well. Quick shout out to Take on the World, Chris Liz Bailey. Thank you so much for giving us your platform to share our puzzle pieces with your community. It really does mean a lot to us. So with that all being said, we can kind of get started right into it. And the first thing we're going to be looking at is the actual scripture, which is Isaiah. So let me bring that up for everyone. I just thought this was a cool little verse of the day. I will not forget thy precepts, for with them thou hast quickened me. And I very much agree with that. But anyways, over here in Isaiah 40, we're going to read this whole thing, but I'm going to take a quick second and show exactly what we're talking about, and obviously where the name of this channel came from. So in 40:22, it is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth, and inhabitants there are as grasshoppers, that stretcheth out the heavens as a curtain, and spreadeth them out as a tent to dwell in. So that's what we're going to be talking about in the connection to the, some of this truth that he gave us here in the scriptures. But like I said, we're going to read the whole thing in context, and then we'll move forward from there. So let's go ahead and get started with this. So again, Isaiah 40 for those that are reading along. So 40. Comfort ye, my people, says your God. Speak ye comfortable to Jerusalem, and cry unto her, that her warfare is accomplished, that her iniquity is pardoned. For she hath received the Lord's hand doubled for all her sins. The voice of him that crieth in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord, make straight in the desert a highway for our God. Every valley shall be exalted, and every mountain and hill shall be made low, and the crooked shall be made straight, and the rough places plain. And the glory of God shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together, for the mouth of the Lord hath spoken it. The voice said, Cry, and he said, What shall I cry? All flesh is grass, and all the goodliness thereof is as the flower of the field. The grass there within, the flower fadeth, because the Spirit of the Lord bloweth upon it. Surely the grass people is grass. The grass wither, the flower fade, but the word of God shall stand forever. O Zion, that bringeth good tidings, get thee up in the high mountains. O Jerusalem, thou bringeth good tidings, lift up thy voice with strength. Lift it up, be not afraid. Say unto the cities of Judah, Behold your God. Behold, the Lord God will come with strong hand, and his arm shall rule for him. Behold, his reward is with him, and his work before him. He shall feed his flock like a shepherd. He shall gather the lambs with his arms, and carry them in his bosom, and they shall gently lead those that are with young. Who hath measured the waters in the hollow of his hand, and measured out heaven with the span, and comprehended the dust of the earth in a measure, and weighed the mountains in a scale, and the hills in a balance? Who hath directed Spirit of the Lord, or being his counselor hath taught him? With whom took he counsel, and who instructed him, and taught him in the path of judgment, and taught him knowledge, and showed to him the way of understanding? Behold, the nations are as a drop of a bucket, and are accounted as small dust of balance. Behold, he taketh up the isles as a very little thing. And Lebanon is not sufficient to burn, nor the beast thereof sufficient for a burnt offering. All nations before him are as nothing, and they all are accounted to him less than nothing and vanity. To whom they will ye liken God, or what likeness will ye compare unto him? The workman melteth a graven image, and the goldsmith spread it over with gold, and catheth with silver chains, so that it is improvised that he hath no oblation, chosen a tree, and will not rot. He seeketh unto him a cunning workman to prepare a graven image that shall not be moved. Have ye not known? Have ye not heard? Hath it not been told to you from the beginning? Have ye not understood from the foundations of the earth? It is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth, and the inhabitants there are as grasshoppers, that stretcheth out the heavens as a curtain, and spreadeth them out as a tent to dwell in, that bringeth the princes to nothing. He maketh the judges of the earth as vanity. Yeah, they shall not be planted. Yeah, they shall not be sown. Yeah, their stalk shall not take root in the earth. And he shall also blow upon them, and they shall wither, and the whirlwind shall take them away as stubble. To whom then will ye liken me, or shall I be equal, saith the Holy One? Lift up your eyes on high, and behold who hath created these things, that bringeth out their hosts by number. He calleth them out all by names by the greatness of his might. For that he is strong in power, not one faileth. Why sayest thou, O Jacob, and speaketh, O Israel, my way is hid from the Lord, and my judgment is passed over from God? Hast thou not known, hast thou not heard, that the everlasting God, the Lord, the creator of the ends of the earth, fainteth not, neither is weary? There is no searching of his understanding. He giveth power to the faint, and to them that have no might he increases strength. Even the youth shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not be faint. So that was a little long one there. So I appreciate y'all all, listening through that. But there's a couple things I want to point out. Obviously, other than the things that I already did point out, that I think were really interesting. So one is, it says here in 5, "And the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together, for the mouth of the Lord has spoken it." So this right here, bringing up to, that all shall see the glory of his coming, right here is very reminiscent to me of that exact same thing, where we're talking about all flesh seeing this happening. Now, obviously, if we lived on in the heliocentric model, that would be pretty hard. You'd have to assume that everyone has access to TVs or phones, which most of the world still doesn't, or a lot of the world still does not. So, I don't view it that way. I view it as literally all eyes are going to see this, and they're going to all see it in the skies together. So that was one thing that I wanted to pick up. And now here down here at the end, for those that aren't necessarily, gung-ho onto the Torah, those that are out there, I understand, I had to transition into it, but I definitely want to kind of point this out, where it says, where it kind of brings here, and it says, "He giveth power," but they that wait upon the Lord. So wait upon the Lord, and I believe this is also following his commandments and doing his behavior. I think this is talking about their renewing their strength. And me personally, I went through this because when I was still, what I refer myself as a churchian now. When I was still a churchian, I totally, was kind of a lukewarm, but now coming, to biblical cosmology that led me to Torah, my strength in the Lord and my looking at him as a foundation in truth, has totally been renewed. And, I think that in so many ways he is giving us this, in the here and the now, where we have this renewed strength. We are, mounted up as eagles. Now, I do also think this is talking about a future thing, but personally, in the spirit, I feel those things when I follow his role. But last thing that I want to bring up before I comment is just right back there again. He sitteth upon the circle of the earth, and we're gonna talk about that in a minute. That word circle, and then the habits of the there are as grasshoppers. That's a really good mental image to give someone, to give a size comparison for him of what it's like looking upon us, and stretches out the heavens as a curtain. That's a very interesting thing. But this part here, "and spreadeth them out as a tent to dwell in." Now, again, we're talking about, the difference between our 4th episode, which I believe was lies, speaking about the heliocentric model. And now we're up here at 27 talking about truth. And just think about, the Father giving a picture to someone, explaining the earth, how little they understand it. To him, it's like he spread out a tent for us to dwell in. And again, when you picture a tent, tents are always on a level, flat surface. You're not putting tents around a ball. So I just wanted to point that out before I go. But I've been speaking for a while. I'd love to hear from those on the panel. If y'all have any thoughts about anything I read, I'd love to hear it.
Well, one thing is that when you think about when Yeshua is brought up and been tempted, he would see all the kingdoms of the earth. How did he do that on a ball? He was brought up high, so he could see all the kingdoms. I think it was more in the air high, but not on a mountain. But anyway, it's a circle. It's not a ball. just from that one
Mm-hmm.
also. So, and then he spread it like a tent. He put us in a covered area, and yeah, I don't. It's round in a circle like that. But the circle is not a sphere; it's a circle, right? A
Yeah.
flat circle.
Yeah, absolutely. Frankie, Nick, got anything to add to that?
Yeah. How does that word circle break down? Because you said you were going to explain that.
Yeah,
Can
so
you,
let's go into that. I'll pull that up for everyone. Bear with me. So, pull this over. So I'm over at Bible Hub. This is Isaiah 40:22. Just here's the King James version. It is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth, and the inhabitants there are as grasshoppers. He that stretcheth out the heavens as a curtain and spreadeth them out to dwell in. So if you pull up that word circle in Strong's, we got it's Kug or Chug. I'm not exactly 100% how to pronounce it. And we see over here it is used above the circle of the earth. So that word chug is a vault or horizon, but it also can be translated as circle. So, and then now as a comparison, this still is the book of Isaiah. This is Isaiah 22, and we're going to look in 22:18, and we have this verse right here, which says, he will roll you up tightly like a ball and throw you into a large country. There you will die, and there the chariots you were so proud of will become a disgrace to your master's house. So again, if you follow that word, here's that separated out like a ball, and then we're going to follow that into the Strong's Concordance. That is 1754, and this word is a ball or a circle. Now, what's interesting is like, see, boom, you're saying, oh, see, it's the same as a circle. Where the interesting thing is when it's describing this image, right? We're going to talk about the scripture itself. So in the scripture, he will surely violently turn and toss thee like a ball into a large country. Okay, so like a ball, meaning he is going to turn and toss thee like a ball. And that word there is has a physicality to it. And that is why they're using here in the word, wrong one. It is a ball. Now, the point being that just like or bags there or up there in 40:22, in Isaiah 40:22, Isaiah could have easily used the word dur, which would have also had the same circle that a lot of those that believe in the heliocentric model will use as, see, a circle is a ball. It's the same thing. Well, no, there was a very specific word, dur, that he could have used to give that image in mind. Again, back here in 40:22, or up there in 40:22, when he sitteth upon the circle of the earth. So he could have said, sitteth upon the. It says it is he that sitteth upon the chug of the earth, but he could have easily used dur like he did here in Isaiah 22:18 to describe the shape of the earth, and it's not. So obviously, to me, that is a very good indication that what we're dealing with here is not a ball, and is indeed a vault or horizon, which is also a circle. So that's what do y'all think about that?
Yeah, the vault part, I definitely agree with the chub word, because a vault is a definite dome type, and it can be unlocked.
I have a vaulted ceiling, which is a high, whatever.
Yeah, it's an enclosed space.
That's right. And the other thing is, when you come down to it, when the heavens open like a scroll, it has to open something. not just space, it's rolling back like a scroll.
Mm-hmm.
So the firmaments. So that's another thing.
Or
right
like
there.
a curtain, right? Like
Right,
when
right.
he says he spread out the heavens like a curtain. Well, that is
Right.
someone opening something up. How do you open up a sphere without literally cracking it in half? Like an egg. So yeah, another silliness there. Sweet. Well, anyone else have any other questions or comments about Isaiah or 22? I just wanted to share those real quick. I'm not going to read 19 in the whole thing. I obviously, go ahead and go do it. But I think showing just this verse is a good enough context of what he's talking about to compare it to the other word that he chose, but he could have chose this word, which he didn't. So. Anyways, okay, so we had also been talking about some, definitely you brought up, when you were talking about how hot it is, right? And now, of course, we know it's summer and it's typically hot, but we also, in our community have learned about various equipment and things that that those in power use to maybe manipulate some of these things. So I'm gonna put this on screen now. A lot of y'all may already know about this. This is the HARP, or the High Frequency Active Auroral Search Program. Now it was shut down. I don't remember the year. Just maybe 2015, I believe. But this machine was used as now what they said it was an instrument used to do some research when it came to the ionosphere, as well as other applications of learning about our so-called planet. But here, even in the wiki, it says HARP is as target of conspiracy claims who claim that it is capable of weaponizing weather. Commenters and scientists say the advocates of this theory are uninformed, and claims made far well outside the ability of the facility is not the scope of natural science. Okay, so now what I see when I was looking a little bit into this is there's a lot of and we'll kind of get into this, is no, the HARP is just a couple of groups that came together. Yeah, they're working with the U.S. Air Force and the U.S. Navy. But this is just for learning purposes. This has nothing. Now, I could not. I learned about this, this HARP a while ago, and I cannot remember the name of the inventor or the conceptualizer of this weapon. Now, if you read from their writings, they will tell you that the BAE Advanced Technologies is who designed and built this, and that may be so for this HARP, but I do know that those plans, that idea, that theory was created by another man, and and if y'all know it, go ahead and operate. But that man who had theorized and created the first kind of conceptual parts of this did mention that it had capability of weaponizing weather and talking or sending messages into people's heads. And I think it's very interesting that they have to add that it happens to be that this is is target of conspiracy theories. Now, just to quickly talk about what it's capable of doing, it's capable of shooting radar beams up into the ionosphere, which would obviously heat that certain area. So though it may not officially be labeled as a weapon in order to weaponize weather, it still has the capability of doing things that could manipulate weather. So now, before if y'all have anything, go ahead and add it in.
The one thing I have to say is, do I believe the government actually shut it down? Do I believe any of them?
Well,
Supposedly they shut it down.
Yeah, I think
right?
they did, and I think like I don't have any proof of this, but I guess if someone was willing to maybe look it up, I didn't even think about it, but maybe if they were willing to look it up and see, you know, or live close to there, can get some images. That's my only way of guessing, you know, but they're saying at least that they shut it down. But that kind of leads to something, but we'll get to that in a second. What were you going to say, Frankie?
From what I understand, it was invented in the 40s, right?
To honest, dude, with the way that the Grabbler search engines and all that work now, I could not find it. But I remember watching a video talking about the person who created and theorized this equipment. That equipment, that research or whatever, however you want to say it, was bought out by the government, and then I'm guessing was given over to BAE to actual put that to realization by designing it and building it. But I couldn't find that information about the guy who originally came up with this concept.
Yeah, they're scrubbing the internet too much.
I also watched the video, and I could have swore it was invented in the 40s before WW1 or during World War One, or maybe in the World War One was what, in the 30s?
No,
so
40s, 30s, 40s.
Yeah.
40s,
So in between World War One and World War Two. That's from what I understand. That was the thing I seen on it. So it's been around for a long, long time.
Yeah, absolutely. And here it's just kind of.
You had Tesla come up with the electromagnetic technology, which also is related to the flat Earth dome whole scenario. But that got shut down too, and that was in the early 1900s. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So all that correlates together around the same time, and I can definitely see the military buying that.
Oh yeah, and so kind of just to talk a little bit about what it does. It says the HARP project directs a 3.6 megawatt signal in the 2.8 to 10 megahertz region of HF high frequency band into the ionosphere. The signal may be pulsed or continuous. Effects of the transmission. Okay, and so one of the things that this was originally also used for military wise was a means of communication. Now I don't know if this is the same band, but the interesting thing is that what they claim that they're doing here is they're bouncing a beam of light, radio frequencies off of the ionosphere that is then kicking it back down to the Earth. So one of the uses of this was to talk to underwater, facilities or submarines, etc., to get a signal to bounce up and go straight down to them. So the reason why I'm bringing that up is because shortly after they shut down supposedly shut down the HARP, all of a sudden these started popping up all around the world. Now these are called sea-based X-band radar SBX-1, and it says it is a floating self-propelled mobile active electronically scanned array early warning radar station designed to operate in high winds and heavy seas. It was developed as part of the U.S. Department of Defense Missile Defense Agency Ballistic Missile Defense System. The radar is mounted on a 5th generation SS-50 twin hull semi-submerged oil platform. So anyways, now what they're claiming this thing is actually an early radar to warn of oncoming missiles that would strike. Now, there was times where they moved these to different places with so-called risk of missile strikes happening, including I believe they moved it to Pearl Harbor during the whole North Korea's thing, and we'll kind of talk about that a little bit later as well. Yeah, so these things are also radars. Now,
so they've been around since North Korea, since the Korean War?
no, I'm talking about the recent with Kim Jong.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when they were testing missiles and all that stuff.
Bear
Yeah,
said something in the chat. He said, they may say it was made in 1993, but there is a reference to it in Reno Williams' movie from 1985. So there you go, another lie.
sweet. Thanks for that. Appreciate that. Yeah, I think there's a lot more, to it, and obviously we're looking at Wiki, right? Wikipedia. So this isn't any type of standard for truth, but at least we'll look at what they'll tell us and then compare that to what makes sense. But anyways, I personally think that with the research, this was the testing phase. And they had to do it on a bigger scale to get it working. And then I do believe they now condense these into these quote-unquote C-based X-band radars. And I think that's how they're, instead of having it in just one place, they can move them around and affect. And again, obviously, if these are weather manipulation devices, the ability to move them around by sea to different locations would be really good. So, what are y'all's thoughts about that? What's
Vader,
up?
what is the definition of ionosphere? Do they have a definition of that?
I can look it up. I don't know it off the top of my head, but
Whatever, something up there.
No, it sounds like the ionosphere would be the enclosure. Right? But they give it another name.
Yeah, I mean, if we're in enclosed, then they're saying something up higher in the ionosphere, but
yeah,
and
of course
we're
they're
in enclosure because we know it.
And of course they're connecting it to sphere, right? Saying that it's going in a ball. But ionosphere's definition says the layer of the Earth's atmosphere that contains a high concentration of ions and free electrons and is able to reflect radio waves. It lies above the mesosphere and extends from about 50 to 600 miles above the Earth's surface.
Oh, what was it? They were saying we were burning through the ozone layer a long time ago.
Yep.
Oh, boy.
That was the beginning of global warming.
Yeah, and that whole thing in general, guys, like that, I see that the same as dinosaurs and nuclear weapons.
Yep.
It's like just another way that they were trying to bring us fear. Like, oh my gosh, there's this hole. It's like, we've been having this protective layer. Now all of a sudden, this layer's gone.
Yep.
It's crazy how much they sell fear to us.
That was quite a while ago, before I was ever understanding flat Earth, and a long time ago. We were burning the ozone layer out, and we were all going to get fried. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what was I going to say?
But yeah, you're kind of right. Now, of course, they say stuff more is keeps going. There's more parts to it, above that, and then they do say it looks like 550 miles thick, their ionosphere. However, they are saying because of quote unquote high concentration of ions and free electrons that we're able to reflect radio waves off of it. So
yeah. When we were growing up, when I was growing up, we've always had heat waves, but I've never seen heat waves reported all around the realm at the same time. So that tells me that they're manipulating the weather in areas all over the realm of this earth. You know what I mean? And whenever the news is publicizing something, you know that there is some type of psyop going on.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
Climate
we didn't
change.
even have air conditioning when I was growing up, and you know I made it through it. But they're making this to be like a great catastrophe that this is their part of their climate control, and it
I
just
think
tells
they
me that
are, though. I think they are controlling it, and I think they are bringing on horrible heat waves. I don't think it's natural.
Well,
So
I kind of want to.
I mean,
Go
it's
ahead.
July and August. It's always been hot in July and August,
Yeah, totally.
even in the Northeast where I'm at.
So I kind of
So
wanted
that's
to.
nothing new, but the broadcasting on the news about
Yes.
every area that is having 100-degree weather, I've never seen that before. Not until recently. Like they're saying that there's a heat wave in every continent. Fires going crazy. I mean, I've never seen them broadcast.
Yeah,
like that.
and I don't know how much of it I necessarily believe, right? Because they're a small group of people that just so happen to have a really big voice. So sometimes all the yelling and crying they do doesn't really amount to anything. Now, I personally, it's really hard to watch the news, so I don't. So
Right.
I'm kind of speaking from the outside in. But I want to point something up that you're talking about, but in a little bit of a different way. So you were talking about how what they're trying to spin. Well, I brought up how the harp was quote unquote shut down and how it could be this thing. Well, what I think is really interesting is in this program, they're saying, hey, this has nothing to do with weaponizing. They even have this thing. But then when they come out with the sea-based radar, right now, all of a sudden, this thing that they're toting around is a missile radar. Now, the reason why I'm pointing that out is because if they said that let's say this was the same machine, just condensed down into a new form, which I believe it is. It has the capability of doing the similar or the same things. But what my point is they wouldn't say, hey, yeah, we have all of these, and they say they have one. Who knows how many they actually have? But we have all of, we have this one, research facility that we're, riding around to measure the ionosphere. Well, that would be kind of, fishy, kind of sus. So now all they have to say is, hey, this is a defensive quote unquote weapon or instrument, and now they can put it anywhere they want to. So I just think that that's kind of an interesting point where it's kind of almost a a bait and switch where, like, hey, this thing has nothing to do with military use. They turn it into a military. It always had been, but then now we're using it for this thing, and it's a military use. But it's not it's not a proactive weapon. It's a defensive instrument. Y'all get what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah. And all the hurricanes and storms we've been having out, like in various countries, Hades. We had the devastating one in 2018 in Puerto Rico. I believe they're all man-made too. You know what I mean? The real bad one we had in Puerto Rico, and I think it was 2018 or in the middle of 45's term, when they sent over supplies and they never got them, and then they found them in a warehouse. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying, and I think this. I don't know if they can full on control. I definitely think there's manipulation, where they're able to maybe beef it up or steer it or things like that. I don't know if they're able to just poof.
I think they can add to it when they can start a storm and then add to it and make it bigger or make it smaller. I mean, because in the last decade, we've had some devastating storms. We've had Katrina. We've had the one down in Texas. We've had the one in Puerto Rico, like I said. I mean, we've had some really, really Superstorm Sandy that hit the Jersey Shore real bad.
All
I
I'm
mean,
saying, and I'm not taking away from those.
and they were calling that a Frankenstorm, which was a mutant of two different storms. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I guess all I'm saying is kind of what I was going along. Like now there's a smaller group of people with really loud voices. Let's step back 20, 50 years ago. If there was a rough, storm in Seattle, people in New York weren't hearing about it. So because and I kind of feel like that with a lot of crime. Not saying that crime has gone up or it's going down or anything. I'm not making any of those type of statements. I'm just saying just the ability to publicize crimes could make it appear as more crimes are happening, other than, like the crime rate has always kind of been consistent, but with the invention of the TV and now, social media, those stories of people getting robbed or other crime or devastating storms and stuff, they're more shareable to more amount of people. So I think it also makes it seem like there's more of it happening. So that's just a thought. I don't know about that, like I totally get you. There's been crazy storms and stuff like that, but then crazy storms from 50 years ago, no one talks, no one remembers anymore.
Yeah, but when I was growing up, we had the news and we had storms, but never this devastating. I think Katrina was probably the first devastating storm that, and I grew up in the 80s and the 90s. They were my 20s and my teens. So we had news, and they always publicized the storms, but they were never as devastating as this in the last 10 or 12 years. You know what I mean?
I get what you're saying. I just don't know. Like, at least specifically when this information is, mostly coming from the media and or relayed through social media, I don't know how much credence I put on that information. I get what you're saying, but I also think that, like I was saying, things are more easily hypeable than they were back then, and I think also kind of how you were talking about with the stuff that happened in Puerto Rico and all the stuff, like there's a lot of politics involved too, and a lot of grappling going on when these amounts of resources and funds are being distributed to nations and to peoples. So I think that and if you even look at the the leader of Puerto Rico and kind of their adversement to help and then complaining, so I don't know. I'm not saying things aren't getting worse. I really don't know, because I can't step back, at least for me, that long wherever felt it. But as a child, I went through 2 earthquakes, but I have only been through 1 for my whole adult life. So it doesn't feel like more to me, and I'm in Utah now, but I grew up in Texas, so when I go out and it's hot, it's like it's hot, but it's never Texas hot. So to me, maybe I'm coming from a quote-unquote jaded view, but that's at least my thoughts.
Well, I understand that. I actually can. I don't know what's really being hyped and what's really being real, and I don't know that when I was younger that they broadcast news like they do now.
Well, Operation Mockingbird's been around since the 50s. So, and that was started in the 50s. TV became relevant in the 60s and the 70s, and so they've been broadcasting their mainstream scenarios since the late 60s, early 70s.
I'm not disputing that, but I'm saying I don't know if in the late 60s and 70s New York people were getting information about weather events in Washington State. It was a lot still.
Yeah, the world news didn't come. World news didn't come around until probably the late 90s.
Yeah.
And then CNN broadcasting the war over in Afghanistan. That was on every single day during the early 2000s. So, yeah, I get what you're saying. It's only been the last 2 decades or last 3 decades that they've been broadcasting world news. So yeah, I get that.
Yeah, and I think even more so, right? Like, and we can kind of tell, like, they love shootings, right? So as soon as shootings happen, like, that's going to be on for the next, that's going to be the trend for the, as long as they're getting, ratings and thumbs ups. And then, and I think
Weather's big ratings too.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it took time for them to find, like, oh, when we do car chases, a lot of people time in. Let's start doing more, car chases. Oh my gosh, our ratings when we're doing about, crazy weather, people tune in. So then they start pumping more, news to get more ratings.
I mean, it would make sense for them to have a weaponized weather machine because every administration has to deal with a weather event and how they're going to deem it and how they're going to send help to it. Like Katrina was a major disaster, and they really didn't get the help they needed. And the same thing with the Puerto Rico disaster.
Same with Harvey.
Harvey, Superstorm Sandy. These weather events and the one in Texas, it shows how strong the administration is, how well responsive they are to catastrophes, to events, to national events. You know what I mean?
Well, FEMA's supposed to be there.
It would make and then there's the law that 43 put in about FEMA can take over when every state is declared a national disaster. So then there's also that. So I definitely feel that they are manipulating our weather. That's just my personal opinion. I mean, you don't have to agree with it.
No, dude. I 100% believe they are manipulating weather. I 100% believe that they're controlling it. Where my kind of, if you'd call this my standoffish point comes, is trying to figure out which ones are them and which ones aren't. Because also, in scripture it talks about, when people are doing disobedient things that the Father sends through, one of his, depending on which door and for what purpose, which gate and what purpose, sends different types of weather. So I think that some of the events are actually Sodom and Gomorrah-ish, where they're like, hey, this place is dirty.
You're saying they're judgment events.
Yeah, I think some of them are, whereas I also believe that they 100% use it as a weapon. And I think, like, for instance, like a lot of, our competing countries will have droughts, and I think the capability of them removing moisture from the air is very easy, or add it, like when you're saying create them, totally, yeah, like they dump a whole bunch of, chemicals in the air that collect water that then, and then they push that water, one way as opposed to the other. So now, all these other countries are going through famine, and now the countries are having to take loans out from world banks in order to pay for food. Like, I totally think all of those things happen. I just, with anything, like when we're trying to tie, like, okay, Sandy was 100%, a controlled one. It's like, I don't know. Like, that's all I'm saying, if that makes sense. I totally think they do.
Also, I think the chemtrailing has something to do with the weather manipulation also. That's why I really wanted Flat Fellow on here, because he really knows about the chemtrailing and the cloud seeding. And they've come out and said that they are cloud seeding. So
for sure. They're
doing it in India now, where they're trying to create rain so that they don't have droughts. You know what I mean? And they've openly come out and said that they are cloud seeding to create rain and to create weather.
Yeah, they did that during the Vietnam War. That's how they flooded the Ho Chi Minh Trail. So that technology and stuff has been existent. So that's what I'm saying. They definitely manipulate it. They definitely are doing stuff, and like when it comes to the fires, like here's a good example of how. Oh, I'm hearing myself. How chemicals react. I'm sorry, I keep hearing myself from someone. Will you mute? I don't know who it is. It's Frankie. Anyway, so gosh, I lost my train. With the fires now. Again, I'd love Tommy here. Maybe he comes at some point. We can ask him. But from my understanding, they use aluminum, barium, and strontium. Well, I know for sure aluminum, when it gets oxidized, it becomes aluminum oxide, which is very volatile, meaning like you can burn it really easy. So if they're dumping all these particulates into the air, eventually those particulates have to go somewhere. What goes up must come down, and they have to have somewhere to land. Well, they're doing it over big swaths of forest. Well, they're gonna all land on the tips, on the tops of the trees, on the leaves. And we talk about the fires going on. They're huge, hotter fires than we've ever had before. That could have a direct tie into it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, and it's also bad forest maintenance. We found that out over the last couple of years that there's ways that the Indians used to maintain the forest so that they wouldn't have brush fires. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But I definitely, if they're dumping aluminum into they're chemtrailing with aluminum, and it does hit the plants and dries them out, makes them more vulnerable for fire. Yes, I could definitely see that too.
There's someone in chat who says, I live in Oak Ridge. It's Gillett or whatever. I'm going to butcher your name, so I'm not going to say it. I live in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, home of the Manhattan Project. We have a nuclear complex 5 miles within my house. And let me tell you, this year the weather has been ridiculously suspicious. So.
And then he added, crazy electrical storms not normal.
Yeah, so I'm seeing it as suspicious too. I mean, it's just.
Yeah, it's definitely suspicious.
That's all. We're just trying to make people aware that this could be going on. It probably is.
Probably.
Now, we're not definite, but we're bringing a lot of evidence, and we're just trying to open up your eyes and let you see.
My daughter-in-law is here, and she just told me, she's listening to us, and she just told me that above the shipyard here, we live in a town with a shipyard, they had blue thunderstorms. Blue. All blue. I don't know, is that different? Oh, than the white?
It wasn't.
They weren't like little boats. They were just. Oh. Yeah, she saw something that was tremendously eerie and different. Anyway, another person who saw something that's very strange. Lots of strange stuff. Didn't you have electrical storms there, Bader? Did you have something?
Yeah,
but they're usually white, right?
It kind of depends on like the era of the day, but we haven't necessarily had anything unusual or unnormal. Like, this is the hottest time of the year. Like, we have all 4 seasons. We had all 4 seasons. We got quite a bit of rain in spring, and it's been pretty dry in summer. Like, we are a little bit less on rain. Like, one thing that they keep talking about specifically Utah is that they're saying that the Great Salt Lake is drying it up. I think that has more reason to what they're doing other than the weather, but weather probably has the hotness has a component in it. But other than that, like, I don't know. I guess I don't notice it enough for it to put me on edge, if that makes sense.
Well, I remember, I think it was 2015. We were at a Christmas celebration for the family. I know you guys don't celebrate Christmas, but we were all wearing shorts, and this was December 24th in Philadelphia, in the tri-state area, Philadelphia, New York, that area, and it was 70 degrees, and we're wearing shorts in December, when December is usually in the 30s or the 40s, temperature-wise, and it was unbelievable. I was wearing shorts at Christmas, at our family get-together. So, and that's not normal. And I know they say they're global warming and all this stuff, but I seriously think that they are, with the chemtrails and their spraying, it gives like a greenhouse effect, where the clouds are so the humidity drops, the clouds are grayish. They're not like normal white fluffy clouds. It's like a covering, and it gives, where the barometric pressure goes up, and there's a humidity in the air, and the temperature rises. I've noticed it over the last 5 years, 6 years. It's been happening a lot.
Has anybody noticed? Oh, the sun isn't yellow anymore; it's white.
It was orange this morning. It was bright orange this morning.
Oh, as a sunrise?
Yeah, around 6 o'clock.
Oh, okay, that's different. But up in the air, I tell you, it is white and it is piercing hot. Piercing hot. It's the strangest. It feels different. The sun feels different on me. That's all I can say.
So, as y'all were kind of talking there, I was definitely listening, but I actually found this. So, and I found it in an article. So, thank you, Gravelers. But let me pull that back up. Give me 1 second. So, as I was looking at this, I found articles, and one of the articles that I found, this was on Popular Science, the military's mystery machine. So this is talking about the heart, but as I was reading it, let me find it. Okay, so right here it says, of course, a vocal minority of HAARP watchers have their own ideas about the purpose of the $230 million taxpayer-funded antenna array. For many years, HAARP's most prominent critic was Bernard Eastlund, a plasma physicist who reportedly worked for the Strategic Defense Initiative, Star Wars, and later Advanced Power Technologies Incorporated, the company originally tasked with building the HAARP. Eastland, who some believers had dismayed from the company for his extreme ideas, claimed the HAARP was built with his patents for technologies that could be used to modify weather and disable satellites. So I went and took that name, just used their own wiki, and pulled this up. It's talking about the same guy. He was MIT. He was from 1938 to 2007. But here at this very last part of this, it says Eastman was in favor of funding research into weather modification and the control that could reduce the impact of severe weather. He envisioned a concept for electromagnetic wave interactions with the atmosphere that, among a range of objects, could be applied to weather modification research, and as such, research could mature to a new science in 10 to 20 years. Now, here under patents, it says Eastland authorized 53 peer-reviewed scientific papers and 23 U.S. patents for applications such as well drilling, sterilization of medical devices, high-intensity lighting, and atmospheric plasma heating. One of Eastman's patents, US 4686605A, described an adaptation of concepts first proposed by Nikola Tesla. Eastman's method and apparatus for altering a region in the Earth's atmosphere, ionosphere, and/or magnetosphere, described as grandiose, proposed a 40-mile square HAARP like radio transmitter that used Alaskan natural gas to generate current to create electromagnetic radiation that would excite a section of the ionosphere. Eastland's patent speculated on possible ramifications and potential future developments, including a macroleluic surveys, local weather modification, and missile defense. Eastman later claimed that HARP was built using his patents. Promptly, conspiracy theories such as Nick Begich claim that HARP is capable of secretly controlling the weather. So why I think that, one, it was interesting that we find the guy that this was attached to, so more research to do there. But two, how it specifically says a missile defense system. And this is the guy who first created it, and we were oh my god, I haven't been showing this whole time. So I'm gonna just re-show y'all really quickly. So this is the popular science thing. This is the part where it's talking about Bernard.
I brought up Tesla earlier.
Yeah,
I knew he would be involved in this.
Yeah, and so Bernard Eastland, I pulled up then his wiki. I read some information, and then this is the part talking about his patent and him, saying, "Hey, I made that," specifically claiming that he made HARP, and it had, use in mind control and controlling of the weather. And then
show that picture again. Roll up to that second picture.
I'm not sure what you're talking about, brother. Oh, you're talking about over there. Okay, yeah, just one second and I'll jump back there. But my main point that I'm showing is how it's like, see, they say it's a missile defense system, but this is the exact same thing. And then over here, they're saying, no, this isn't that. This is a missile defense system. So that's totally tied. But yeah, I'll pull that up. You're talking about this one right here, Frankie.
The one that looks like a dome.
I'm not there. There was two, but I think this one was
the
you're
second
talking
one.
about. Okay.
Dome or
Not the one at the
golf ball?
top, the second one.
Yeah. Now, obviously, they're saying this is the ionosphere and the, showing how radio signals work and how we can bounce it off. I'm gonna post this inside of the chat. Go check this out because there's definitely a lot more in there if anyone's who's interested in kind of digging a little bit deeper. But they definitely bring up a lot more topics. Kind of this first paragraph here. Was it the first one? I don't remember, but yeah, go read this, guys. Very interesting. But I want to kind of move on here just quickly. Another whole thing dedicated to conspiracies around this and saying how it's really used and how it's nothing to do with what we think. Now, this real quick, spoiler alert, I've never watched this, so I already spoiled myself. This is just a film, like when I was doing the research on this sea-based radar, this was a film used for it, and in the only difference pretty much is, I'm not going to talk really about the film, but this thing is used, and it's actually, to kind of give it a quick, plot, again, spoiler alert, it says, it says Intercept is a new action movie that is currently streaming on Netflix, and it focuses on Captain J.J. Collins, who is tasked with defeating a terrorist group that has plans to destroy the U.S. with nukes, I might add. It says the fact Collins has to be on these bad guys single-handedly means the chances of her failing the mission are high. So does she succeed, or do the terrorists cause mass destruction with nuclear weapons that they have somehow stockpiled? We think we already know the answer, but in case you have doubt, the ability of Collins to take on these do-batters, let's take a closer look at the movie. So that's all I just brought it up, that it's in popular culture for them to have another reason. That's something else I want to talk about. Let me go back over here. Okay, no, that's it for the kind of the HARP stuff. Does anyone else have anything they want to add before we kind of move on to the next subject?
Nope.
Okay, sweet.
Done.
Sweet. Okay, Frankie?
Just keep your eyes open and look at what's going on around you. Let's not just be gullible and think that everything's copacetic and what they say is true. Question everything, that's all.
Absolutely. And I just want to take a quick shout before I move on, just to say hi to those that have joined us along the way. Robert D joined us. Beta Bay, Bear. I said hello to Eugene, but I'll say hello to you again. Again, we have Glad 10 with us. Thanks for being here. Speak truth with love. Thanks for joining us, sister. And we got Tiger Bear as well. So thanks for over there. And those on Rick Harrison. Thank you for being over here as well. Yep, sometimes we have low numbers, sometimes it's big. That's part of growing a YouTube channel. At one point I think there was like 4 people watching. So, all we can do is keep trying and keep making content. So I definitely hope you enjoy it. So, ionosphere code for a minute. Yeah, totally. Sweet. All right. So one thing I just kind of wanted to point out real quick, since I knew we were talking about weather and manipulation. I want to show, this is just a quick part. This is not even really talking about it right here, but this is from one of Rob Skiba's videos. Obviously, if you're not, subscribed to him, definitely do. I definitely suggest checking out the debunking number 1 through I think 10 of the top 10 reasons. Check out those videos. But in this video, I'm going to mute it. I'm just going to be showing the video real quick. So in this video, it's showing the weather patterns, what wind patterns look like on a flat Earth. Now, that's also the exact same way that, the sun is rotating. So I think that's very interesting when we're looking at this, that now weather manipulation makes even more sense, right, Frankie? I know you're a little bit behind, but when you catch up, let's say, so we're over here, so Hawaii somewhere over here. Well, if you have this machine somewhere over here and they're messing with this weather, well, that weather's going to not only drift, to South America, but eventually over to, Africa as well. So it's gonna hit the rest of Europe and India and Asia and Australia, and we would then obviously be the last people that it would come back around on. But I just think this flow showing this circle makes so much more sense than when you look on the globe. Now, if you don't know what that looks like, I didn't pull that up for anyone. I didn't pull that up to look at, to show everyone, but go look up the weather patterns on Earth, and they do these up and down squiggly lines across the globe, which literally make no sense if it's spinning one direction, how those shapes are being made. But I just wanted to show that really quick. I thought that was very interesting. Have y'all ever seen that before?
No, but I definitely see how it correlates, and yeah, and it's so, say if they have their ship in a certain area where the storm is coming, they could use that barge to magnify that storm and push it in a direction where they want it to go. You know what I mean? And now we have forecasting for 14 days, where when I was growing up and Marsha was growing up, we only had forecasting for 3 to 5 days.
But come on, bro, how accurate are they really?
Yeah, well, how can they know what the weather's going to be like 14 days out unless they're manipulating it?
Yeah, I don't even know if I buy 7 days or any of it. They're usually all wrong. And I see Jeremy Pyers joined. Is in chat. How you doing? Wendy's here as well. Hello, dear lady. What were you saying, Frankie? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, and they used to always get the weather wrong. Now they're more accurate than they've ever been. And that's a red flag. 'Cause I remember when I was growing up, they were calling for blizzards, major storms, and it would miss. And we would joke around how the weather was always wrong. And then when they said it was going to be a small storm, it would turn out to be a big storm. But now their accuracy is way better than it was in the early 70s and 80s and 90s. It's almost pinpoint, and it's for 14 days. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's interesting, and that can. Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Okay, so
Be a conspiracy theorist, but
yeah, no, totally. That's what we do here. We speculate on things that we don't know, but we theorize. So okay, well, I think it kind of wraps up with the weather things, and I kind of wanted to switch over and talk about space in general. I wanted to show a few news articles. We'll do that a little bit more towards the end, but I wanted to bring up a couple things that I news articles that I did see that kind of go along with this, and I'll describe it for y'all, and then obviously when it catches up on YouTube, you'll see it over there. But so what I'm showing now is a CNN travel article. It says, take a look at the world's only carbon neutral spaceship. Okay, this is a spaceship. Now, you see in here, there's chairs, there's some screens. It's $125,000 a ticket. It's quote unquote hydrogen powered. Centuries of balloons and parachutes operate and demonstrate the always flying the balloon. Okay, so wait, we're talking about balloons? This is a space ship, and it's a balloon, and that's the world's only carbon neutral? So this is the only type of spaceship like this? Well, what about Auguste Piccard in the 1930s and him sending up a balloon to the, I believe, stratosphere, and here's a capsule in back of a Ford, hauling it to, I believe, where it was going to shoot it up. But yeah, this isn't something that's new, and for those that haven't seen, just simply search NASA launches satellite in Antarctica, and you'll see them putting the satellites up, satelloons, I guess we should call them, up by a crane in Antarctica. But I just wanted to show that how ridiculous, and just look at this image real quick. I think it's really interesting. They kind of have an illusion of a curve right here in this image, but then you clearly see from the reflection that it's a straight line. So I feel like this is almost...
That thing kind of looks like the Death Star, doesn't it?
Kind of, and it literally has an eye in it. Like their symbol it's space perspective, but it's the symbol of an eye. So it's very interesting, the choices that they made.
Is just them, carbon free is them giving an excuse for using a balloon to take it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a nice way of saying, hey, we're just going to use balloons.
Yeah, so it doesn't create any more carbon in the air. Yeah, okay.
Yes, so ridiculous. And the fact that that's already been done, before. And so I saw this other article that popped up, and again, we'll read some others later. I just picked out a few to kind of pinpoint. So this is from spacenews.com. It says, Senate appropriates boost military space programs in proposed 2023 spending bill. The defense bill adds more than $2 billion for military space programs above what the Biden administration requested. And then just jump down here a little bit. Leaders appropriate on July 28th for unveil 12 approaching draft bills for the upcoming fiscal year, including a defense spending bill recommending $792 billion budget for the defense department. Senator John Tester, Montana chairman appropriation, said the defense top line is $63.6 billion, above what Congress enacted in fiscal year 2022. The increase is needed to address higher inflation for acquisition programs, goods and services, and higher compensation costs, the committee said in a statement. So, yeah, they're just going to give all this money to Space Force tests and training infrastructure. And that led me to a thought. So, for those that don't know, and I'm sure most of you who are here may not, I see you there, Firmament Liquor. Welcome, brother or sister. That brings me to, Warner Van Braun. So here's him with our good old, American icon Walt Disney. And of course, his start in the industry came as an SS scientist, a Nazi scientist, and during Operation Paperclip, he was brought over, and he is who developed, our Saturn missiles that took us on the Apollo missions. Saturn took us to Apollo missions, and that supposedly happened in 1969. Though, and years later, Warner Van Braun himself, if you look into how he believed it would be capable of getting to the moon, again, this is the fallibility of rocketry, the one that got us to the moon in the first place. What he said would be required to actually get us to the moon. But the reason why I brought him up in connection to what I had already showed is this lady. Now, I don't know if y'all have seen her before. This is...
they were a part of Operation Paperclip, right?
Yep. Yes, indeed. And then this is Carol Rosen. Just to give her, I don't remember exactly what she all states here, so I'll just give a little nutshell. This woman was in the later part of Warner Van Braun's life when he had cancer. She was his public speaker, so she would do her different events and speeches for him on behalf of him. And as he, was getting later in years of his life, he confided her in some stuff, and this is her sharing it at the National Press Club. So I am going to play this for y'all. So those on the panel, let's mute real quick, and we'll play. We're not going to play this whole thing, but we're going to play the first part of it. So here we go. Okay, everyone should be able to hear this.
Good morning. My name is Carol Rosen. In 1974, after being a sixth grade school teacher, I was introduced to the late Dr. Wernher von Braun, in the U.S., the father of rocketry. In my first meeting with him, during that first 3.5 hours, he said to me, "Carol, you will stop the weaponization of space." And I said, teachers don't stop until June. He said, "No, you have to understand. This is February. And we have to prevent the weaponization of space because there is a lie being told to everyone that the weaponization of space is now first being based upon the evil empire, the Russians. There are many enemies," he said, "against whom we're going to build this space-based weapon system. The first of whom was the Russians, which was existing at that time. Then there would be terrorists. Then there would be third world countries. Now we call them rogue nations or nations of concern. Then there would be asteroids. And then he would repeat to me over and over, and the last card would be the extraterrestrial threat."
So I don't know if y'all heard that in the panel, but if y'all watched it on the thing, basically, and for those that couldn't hear, maybe. Basically, later in his life, he said, "Hey, first they're going to weaponize space, because of Russia, and then it will be terrorists and rogue nations, and then it will be asteroids, and then it will be aliens." But I want to finish her up saying this last little part, and then we'll kind of go from there. So here we go. So, not in this interview, but in another one, she goes on to say, that Warner Van Braun says, and all these things are fake. They're all lies, all of them. And she kind of says it there. Yeah, I'm sorry if it's hard to hear. For some reason, it's really low on this side too. I have it turned max here and max on my streaming program.
It's really hard to hear. I had to blast my sound up to hear it.
Yeah, it's full on both my sides, so I think it's just the video. But that's why I kind of reiterated it. I'm sorry for those that didn't fully get to hear it. Maybe it's just a bad video.
Reiterate that.
Yeah, she basically said, and they're all lies. The whole space reason for them to create this, these are all lies. And so I kind of like, and I just mentioned, she just mentioned those things. So let's take a look at this. Now, this is a good connection back to that Bernard guy who, claimed that he created the patents that made the harp, and his tie to Star Wars or the Strategic Defense Initiative, which was again during the Cold War, the height of the Soviet Union. This was a program put into place for a missile defense system to protect us from ballistic strategic nuclear weapons from said Soviet Union. So here we go. Boom. That's that first check off. That's obviously already happened. Now, here, it starts talking about terrorists and, rogue nations. Now, I feel like we saw a lot of terrorists in the movie, and very similar in entertainment in the, news. Here in the Diplomat, it talks about U.S. warns North Koreans reconnaissance satellite tests are cover for intercontinental ballistic missile development. So here they're talking about, hey, they're putting satellites, but these satellites aren't actually satellites. They're actually developing, intercontinental ballistic missiles. So here's a rogue nation that's out of threat. And here in this defensenews.com, she was talking about terrorism. The head of the UK Space Directorate warns of space terrorism. Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's basically saying, hey, when, this stuff gets cheaper and more accessible, all of a sudden then we're going to have to worry about these terrorists in space. So they go on to talking about how do we develop things to, keep this space terrorism from happening. Now, obviously I've shown this before on the stream, and this is just me going to Google News and typing in asteroids, and you will always see a plethora of this. Building-sized asteroids are barreling towards Earth. Asteroids, colors, shapes, and brightness levels revealed in satellite data. Double trouble, 2 massive asteroids to brush past Earth. Space on 24 hours this weekend. Asteroid Bono is old before its time thanks to the sun. So we have all these examples. Asteroid size of Chrysler building traveling at 13,100 miles an hour, towards Earth. Now, it always says, 0 chance to collide, but they just like to keep mentioning, asteroids coming towards Earth. This one's not going to hit. This one's coming, but this one's not going to hit. It's literally so ridiculous. But then she brought up, that final card is extraterrestrials. So now this is a recent article that I saw, and I don't remember which one exactly this is, but just a week ago, there was literally, scientists have picked up a radio signal heartbeat billions of years away. Strange heartbeat signal spotted coming from deep space. Astronomers at MIT pick up mysterious signal. Mysterious fast radio bursts in space has a heartbeat pattern. Unusual radio signals detected by astronomers billions of light years away. So yeah, it just, them slowly pumping up, this has a pattern to it, it's a heartbeat, they're giving it, there's so many things. One, that it's a heartbeat, giving it a life, billions of light years away, letting us know, that it would have to be from this, advanced, extraterrestrials. And so, So I kind of showed you. She talked about all those things. She talked about North Korea, Russia. We saw the Star Wars. They talked about terrorism and rogue countries. Well, here we go. They're talking about terrorism in rogue countries. We always have these asteroids coming by, right? So at some point, them saying, "Hey, this one, we have these asteroids coming up. They may get too close for comfort. We may need to build some things to get rid of them." We can all see that. And of course, with these radio signals, and if they can somehow convince a group of people that there's aliens and there's more aliens coming, of course they're going to quote unquote weaponize space. So, it's just so preposterous to me that these things are actually happening, and what she's saying is true. And even more so, it's kind of mind-blowing that this is coming from Werner Van Braun, right? This is coming from a man who a lot of people look up to as the father tree of rocketry, a founding member of NASA. So, thoughts?
When did you find that video? Because I seen that video a couple months ago. The one with the woman?
Yeah, no, I've seen it before. There's also another video.
It was attached to another video.
Yeah, there's another video. I didn't pull that one up, but that's when it's kind of a more personable interview instead of like a standing in front of a crowd talking. But yeah, it's my point isn't like, hey, I just found it, looking it up. It's one to show those who haven't seen it, but just literally like we've known the program. The program has been happening, and Werner Van Braun, has the Psalms quote, the Lord, the firmament, the firmament declares the handiwork of the Lord, of God, of Father, and so right there, he's already kind of talking about this thing. They're saying that there's this ionosphere that they can bounce radio signals off of, but it's not a physical thing. It's just because of molecules, and I think these all things have to go together, because the reason why they lie and they have to create these fanciful things is because the truth is much more simpler. There is a vault. There is a dome structure above us. They can, bounce off signals from that dome to other places, in the realm. They're not using it to bend, signals around the curvature of the earth. There is no physical curvature. We've, measured it. We've taken pictures. We've seen too far, and so I guess one reason why I definitely tie it into scripture is that because this truth that is biblical enclosed cosmology, 100% tears apart all the rest of their lives, of their evolution, of their Big Bang, of Darwinism, of all those things squash it. Because if we're in a purposefully built terrarium that the Lord made, then no man will have excuse, because it is plain to see from the creation of the earth that there is a God, there is a Most High, and He is above us. And like Isaiah 40:22 says, it is He that sitteth upon the circle, not the ball. He sitteth upon the circle of the earth, and its inhabitants are like grasshoppers thereof. And He stretches out the heavens like a curtain, and He spreadeth out the heavens like a curtain, and He stretches out them as a tent for us to dwell in. So all of these things bring us closer to the truth, and these are things that obviously we read in scripture, so we know Isaiah was professing. So I think they're very an important part of our walk. Definitely that we can look at Genesis and keep it, keep trusting that the Father says what He means and means what He says. All right. Well, sorry about my little escapade there. Any other thoughts, guys?
He just wants. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're okay.
I have been MIA again. I got family all running around here.
Oh, that's always a good thing.
I'm not used to it though.
Yeah, Reed's in the chat, Vader. Remember we were asking about him a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in
I
the
remember that.
chat. Said hello.
Yeah. Hey, man. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining us in the chat. All right, so we got about 25 minutes left. If there's anything y'all want to bring up, totally can. Also, just did a quick Google News search and have some articles here about space that I thought were interesting. Other than that, Frankie, you have anything, brother?
Well, you remember the Liberty Bell project from Hitler, the Bell project, the hovercrafts. So I really think that's going to be part of their next alien operation. I've been watching Nat Geo a lot, and there was a couple alien things on there, sightings, and it just really seems like they're getting us ready for that national sighting. You know what I mean? Where the world news is going to take over about it and start talking about it on a deeper level.
Yeah,
you know what
I totally agree, and they also push it in the in the entertainment as too. Don't you think it's kind of interesting though that like they call it Space Force, not below nothing above low Earth orbit force? Because they literally claim that they can't get to space, but they're called Space Force. Please explain that to me.
It's space above the clouds. It's the space in between the firmament and the clouds.
It's the space between one tree and another. It's the space literally between one rock and the other. That's the space
when
that they're trying to.
When they say space, it's so general. It can be outer space, inner space. You know what I mean? They make no reference to it because they don't.
Yeah.
They get away with it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. They can do anything they want. They say anything they want. I mean, it just doesn't matter anymore. It's obnoxious, and it's really hard for me to even watch the news. I don't watch the news, so.
I get forced to watch the news at lunch at work. They put it on.
Oh, I just.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah, it almost feels like what I would imagine being inside a man-sized microwave would feel like.
Yeah, I can't wait for football season so to actually start watching sports instead of.
Oh my gosh!
I know you don't like football and all, but it's so much better than watching apocryphy news. It's so hard.
Oh yeah, no, I totally get you, and we all have our own ways of being entertained. But so we got like 20-ish minutes. I guess I'll show some of these news articles that I saw. And Wendy said the space between their ears. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where all this stuff is happening. Is just in the space between their ears, nowhere else.
Yep. Got it.
But over here, so I just thought it was interesting. This company that made the lunar lander, a company developing a lunar lander for NASA, went bankrupt, which is really interesting. And then
isn't that interesting? And the lunar lander was made out of tinfoil. My gosh, they went bankrupt.
Yeah, no, I think this is a different.
Remember the
I think this is like a new one.
Marsha, remember the tinfoil hats I used to wear?
But there's a few things. I remember we were talking about this before about, with all the things going on between Russia and Ukraine and, our embargoes on it. They're saying, Reuters tells NASA space station pull out less imminent than indicated earlier. And then Russia's saying we're not leaving the space station until our own is ready. And then Russia might just plunge the world into a dark era for space. So again, right, we were talking before about having issues with Russia in space. This is on the top of the news. And then Another thing here is I see this trend going on with China. It says could Chinese space debris really disrupt your flights this weekend? It says space junk potentially found in NSW snowy mountains paddocks. As more space junk falls to Earth, will China clean up its act? Space company master. Okay, so but anyway, so I just point out like, oh my gosh, all this space debris. This is going to become an issue where it could start affecting our lives here on Earth, right? And don't y'all remember, like us as flat Earth biblical cosmologists? Don't y'all remember be like, hey, if there's all this stuff there and it's always breaking down, falling apart, why aren't we just seeing it everywhere? And so all of a sudden we're seeing it now, and now it's all China's fault. So
Did you ever watch the video on meteorites? There was a video on the 24/7 Discord they had up of meteorites all through the realm, and they're literally pieces of the dome. I mean, you can see the colors in them, the crystal-like. But they call them meteors, from outer space.
They could be also volcanic things that shot up in the air. I don't know.
It also could just literally be some type of electromagnetic spark and we're seeing in the sky. And just from our perspective, it looks like a flying ball. But that's just what we've seen.
The meteors that have landed on the, in various areas on the realm.
Yeah,
I don't know if I trust those. Right, just like the moon.
Neither do I.
They're pieces of the dome. They're. You remember they were shooting missiles up into the dome during the 60s?
Yeah, I don't think they can. I don't think they can even crack it.
No, they can crack it. There's pieces of it.
That's interesting. I would like to talk more specifically about the firmament another time, but I don't know if those are what those exactly are, and maybe who knows. We don't really know what exactly it's made out of, so to say pieces can be falled off, like who knows. But here in another this is just article, and space.com is talking CHIPS Act approves, which is Congress approves a thing that will keep the ISS funded through 2030. So they just got 8 years of funding for CGI pictures filmed in a pool.
Yeah, why not? They just created trillions and trillions of dollars. Why not fund whatever they want to fund?
Oh man, I don't know why we haven't rioted a long time ago at billions of dollars being put here, there, everywhere.
Well, it's because we're not like them, right? Like that's where believers, I feel like, are at a disadvantage, right? Because like we're not gonna cheat, lie, and steal to get ahead or to survive. Whereas there are people that don't have the same desire of obedience to ABBA, so that's not a part of their plan, and so obviously they're willing to do those type of things, to us. So
my theory is they're playing a giant game of Monopoly.
Well,
and the bank's just creating more money so that they can buy more things, add more stuff to the board.
Well, it's more spiritual. This is definitely a spiritual war.
But then again, I think this has always existed, right? Like this game has been being played forever.
Right. And Satan, and his cronies, all that need people to work through. And so we look at it as people, but it's really the spirits, it's entities, it's just, and they give themselves over to them too. So, but
Reed asked the question: why are pieces of the firmament falling to the ground?
I don't know that there is.
Yeah, I don't know how you can
answer the question. Hold on.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's because they were shooting rockets into the dome in the 60s and the 50s, trying to crack it. And they were shooting nuclear weapons up there, and they were doing it all through the 60s.
I don't even know that they can make it that high.
I don't think that they have nukes.
I've watched videos on it, and they were trying to crack the dome, and they couldn't get through it. And I believe that. And in the video, it said that these are the pieces of the firmament that fell.
Well, doesn't it say
during that testing?
Doesn't it say in scripture that no one can measure the height of whatever, something like that? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I know what you're talking about. It's Operation Dominic, or it was like Dominic Operation Fishbowl, where they were shooting all those. They called them nukes, but you know they're just bombs. They're shooting up big bombs in the air and they're blowing up. And I totally think they were hitting something, right? And I think that was the firmament most likely. However, I don't know if that then equals pieces fall off and that they broke it. I don't know if they're capable of doing it. Now, I'm not saying they are for sure, but it's kind of like, someone gives me a rock and says, hey, this is from the firmament. Unless there was something like crazy about it where it's like this rock doesn't exist on Earth, or
they can say that
proper. You gotta watch the video.
Totally.
I mean, it really looked like something crystallized. It didn't look like normal rock.
I think it's called blue glass or something.
I watched you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's called blue glass. Yeah, I've seen things about it. I've heard, different things. I think it's kind of we don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But it's definitely fun to speculate. I personally would see it as they're not able to break it or crack it. And if it is pieces falling off, then that's just part of the mechanism where it's like repairing itself. It's not something that they would be doing to it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But that's obviously pure speculation. But here's some other ones I wanted to share real quick. It's kind of the same thing, but more junk from the Guardian, space junk falling down, out of control space debris about to fall. Now, to me, I don't know what y'all think, but don't you think the point of this is for them to create some type of quote-unquote space weapon or space tool to shoot this junk out of the sky? Or do you think it's more like they know kind of something's about to happen, like quote-unquote meteorite or some events or things are about to be starting to be seen in the sky, and so they're getting people, their minds to say, hey, when you see that stuff, it's China space junk.
When they blame it on China or Russia, it's got to be something.
Oh, they can just blame it on anybody. But whatever.
Well, they blame it on China or Russia. So, and most.
I got Country Fun just put up. I guess it's Jeremiah 31:37. Thus says the Lord: if the heavens above can be measured, and the foundations of the earth searched out beneath, then I will cast off all the offspring of Israel for all that they have done, says the Lord. It can't be measured. And so if they're hitting something up there, they would be of somehow measuring it too.
Well,
right?
No, like maybe measuring to a point, right? Like they know here.
Have some kind of meters on it that show how.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think it's also saying the whole thing, right? Like not just, you won't be able to measure one part of it. You won't be able to understand the full construction of it. Like you maybe know it's this high and on this part, but that doesn't mean it's that high for every part. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't think they're able to break it personally.
No.
If they were, why wouldn't they just go to the sides? That makes a lot more sense than trying to go up.
Yeah, it would, wouldn't it?
And then with all the talk of...
I also heard that they were trying to break the sides also. And I did watch something that said they might have broken through. That's why they're trying to get to Mars. Because it's a realm outside of the dome. So there's that speculation that I've seen too.
Yeah, I remember you sharing. That was kind of interesting. I don't know if it's almost kind of throws the Bible to the wayside in my opinion, because it's talking about 9 Earths, not or whatever.
Talking about
four Earths or
wait a
whatever.
minute, wait a minute. Kingdom of Context said there's 7 firmaments.
Yes.
So if there's a firmament above our firmament, then that means there's landmass on the other side of this firmament.
No, and I'm not saying there isn't landmass. I just don't think there's other human beings. Like,
No. I'm not saying that, but their Mars is, I say their Mars or their next realm or their next planet they want to go to is outside of our firmament. In the next firmament, whatever that is. You know what I mean?
Maybe. Yeah.
The next firmament is where the waters are. They'd be flooding us.
Yeah, well, that's one thing. That's what I was gonna say. Is like when he opened the floodgates of heaven, that's how we had the flood, and he put the waters to separate.
Aren't they empty now?
No.
Well,
No.
how did it fill then?
Well, because he knows how to do
He
it.
emptied the
He didn't
sky.
empty all
I kind of actually almost think that I disagree with the way that Sean depicts it. Like, I think it's interesting, and I think no man can really conceptualize it because we're talking about this grand architect of the Father, like literally creating this intricate thing. But think about it like this. I almost think that, like, what if we are in the lake of another, like, you know, like a higher realm, right? Then almost like the Russian dolls. And then, like, if you go outside of that lake, there's like a whole nother, you know, firmament and world. But that firmament is inside another lake that if you go out of that lake is another whole world. Like, and I say lake, it could be ocean, whatever. But I think it would more so expand that way than necessarily like dome.
If you've seen the Ewar videos on the moon map, there's more land outside of our firmament.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I don't think the map as a person that can, you know, use graphic programs and stuff like that, the moon in no way, shape, or form is represented or the map is represented in the moon. You have to take a quite a bit amount of artist interpretation and creating lines where there aren't lines and putting lines.
We know the moon is plasma. It's not a real like.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a ball.
They can go to.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it's a ball. Yeah, but just because that's true, I don't think then therefore it is a inverted picture of our, you know, complete Earth. And I saw that video. It was interesting. He brings up interesting facts. But again, he even admits it himself that you have to take a lot of artistic interpretation to come to that picture. So that's all I would say about that. But
it's our opinions.
Yeah, no, for sure.
That's a lot to say about that. He's saying he doesn't know.
So yeah. Anyways, so we're close to the end. We got about 8 minutes left. So I want to go ahead and start winding down. But of course, always we like to, you know, go back to the last episode and read some comments off. And just so you know, we really do appreciate comments. We really do appreciate subscriptions and, you know, thumbs ups. All of those things help the server, you know, the Discord server, obviously the YouTube grow. So, you know, and the more pieces that we can add to, you know, the pile, you know, the better look that we can get into, you know, the truth of the world. And that's something we're all after, right? We're all truth seekers. We're all looking for those pieces of the puzzle that we yet don't have. So I think this is a great.
If you guys can like the video and leave a comment after it's done, that helps our ratings also. Did you hear that?
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And with adding those, you know, additional puzzle pieces, it literally all, you know, it says in scripture, you know, iron sharpens iron as one man sharpeneth another. You know, we all have to come together, bring our puzzle pieces to the table, and know that For iron to sharpen iron, you need three things. You need heat, you need friction, and the removal of the material. So we always have to be able to come together and have that friction and that heat so that we can share those pieces of pebbles. So where there is things, parts that need to be sharpened, that part is removed. Go ahead, Marcia.
Well, that's what those things need to be removed or refined or pruned or sharpened, but to get to the truth, not just all speculation. We're trying to get to some truth too.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, absolutely. And and sometimes speculation has to happen, for one person to say, hey, well, according to scripture, your speculation is wrong. And that's where we're removing that material, right? We're losing those parts of us, that of not truth, and replacing those lies with truth, as we all had to do with when it comes to the circle of the earth that we all live in. So, anyways, we always share some comments for the last one, so I'm just bringing them up for y'all, and I will pull it up. So for those who haven't, we really do appreciate all the subscribers that we do get. And so if you haven't and you watch us later, please subscribe. Hit the bell if you want to see more of our content. And then remember that we'll always read out comments. So this is from our last video. And if there's comments, we read it. So we had a couple here. Okay, sorry, Nick, that is really long, and I only have like 5 minutes left. But I will definitely read it and try to respond to you. Heaven77 said, when Messiah come back is not going to be pretty. He's going to wage war against this world. Absolutely. And then he's showing Revelations 22. Oh, gosh. Okay, so his is really long too. Guys, you're almost just posting scripture, and I appreciate that. But like to go through all of these, and we're not taking them in context. It's going to take a lot of time to be able to actually go through that and give it a real thing.
Just read the short ones.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, just a little thing. My wife said. Great show tonight, everyone. Love the conversation. Love how everyone can disagree and still act in love. Yeah, absolutely. And we definitely appreciate your comments. Now, big comments like that, like I feel like Heaven77, like you have a lot to share, and to kind of get a better perspective of this, then join us in Discord, and that goes to everyone. If I'll go ahead and just grab it for y'all and post it, so bear with me.
If you're not,
yep, we always chat in the after show, and stay on and talk about some other things that we may not be able to say on Discord. But anyways, join us on Discord, and you seem like a great person to join. Now here on Circle of the Earth, if you go to the community or you see it on your phone, I have this post here, and I just wanted to show this for everyone that maybe didn't see the post. We're looking for more people to join the table, add more voices. This is an open invitation. If you don't have to be a content creator, if you just have things that you'd like to share, or even just join to partake in the discussion, even if it's just listening live on the Discord, everyone's more than welcome. If you have any more questions about that, look in Discord, and we'll help you there. But also again, shout out to Take on the World. If you're not subscribed, give them a subscription. They have great daily shows. Disturbed Lands on Monday. They got Sounds Off. It usually rolls on Tuesdays. We got Sip Rep Resistance. That's on Wednesdays. Flat Out Insights usually rolls out on Thursdays, and then of course we switch to Fridays. And then Ian does his one on Saturdays, typically, sometimes on Fridays. So go check out all those creators. They're really great if you haven't. But anyways, the comment from the last one, we have a few here. It looks like Nick posted that kind of on both. So check that out, people. And the Moonglow said thank you. And Moonglow also said the apocryphal language in Hebrew literature that includes sun, moon, and stars, great earthquakes, etc., represents a change in political nation power, such as rulers, kings, and such. The first mention for hermeneutics is when Joseph was given the dream of his family members, similar as the suns, moon, and stars. If you look up the passages include this imagery and read them in context, it is helpful. That's very interesting. I don't shy away from thinking that there are spiritual implications to Scripture as well, but I will always take it as like my hermeneutics is to take it exactly as what it says, and understand that the people at the time when they said those things, that they were saying those things, and they believed in it as such, and it was truth. That's why they were, inspired to take count of it. So, but yeah, that's my opinion. But I think looking from those spiritual aspects is definitely there's a lot of gravy to be found within Scripture, looking at it that way as well. So, anyways, awesome. All right, well, that's all our comments. I appreciate all the love. Make sure you share so we can get even more puzzle pieces. But we'll go ahead and say our goodbyes since we are just a little past over that 2-hour mark. And so I'll throw over that Frankie to go first.
Yeah, is that the most comments we ever got on a video?
Yeah, woo woo.
Yeah, that's cool. Hey.
No, I think
keep
we
it
have
up,
a few others where there's more than that, but we definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, that really helps the.
Oh, those were the longest ones we've ever had.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that. All right, I just want to say Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Spread the word. We're on Friday nights. We'll be talking about biblical stuff, truth topics. We're eventually going to get some guests, some debates. So the up and coming months, it's going to be awesome. So just hang in there, keep digging out, keep searching out the truth. The song that's going to play at the end is "Dig Deep" from Nick and I's band. Born Out of Time, so enjoy that and just continue to engage with the Father. And any questions you really have, you should go directly to Him and let Him answer them and put them in your spirit, because that's the best way. Shabbat Shalom, and enjoy your day of rest. Our day of rest.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and Marsha?
It's not Shabbat here, so shalom. Not quite Shabbat yet, still warm and muggy, but just love being on here talking. I had a lot of company. Sorry I wasn't as active as I should have been, but anyway, glad to have everybody here. Want you all to come back, bring your friends. We've got, we try our best to give you some truth, entertainment, and a little of everything. But mainly truth, hopefully.
Oh, yeah. And that's what we're sharing pieces, right? Like, obviously, when we share them, we all believe that they're true. That's why we never look at each other and question each other's salvation. We all believe that we have a love for the Father and a love for the Son, and we desire to grow closer to Him. And that's what we're going to do. And we're not going to sit here and call each other, wolves and stuff like that. And of course, it's not bad to, to disagree with someone says, but if you believe that it's in an evil way, you should go to that person. You shouldn't,
broadcast with someone, take it to that person personally.
And even so, we're all human, we're all fallible, we all sin, we all make mistakes, and so we gotta always be willing to forgive and move on and keep trekking on and trying to draw closer to the Father. But anyways, guys, like they said, thanks for being here. I hope y'all enjoyed the episode. Like Francie mentioned, we have stuff in the works, more content that we'd like to make. But with the change up and kind of the separation, some things may just be X'd out because of that, but new things are also coming. So I hope y'all stick around. I hope y'all share it. I'd love to grow with y'all and grow this group where we can come together as fellow brothers and sisters, and sharpen each other's selves and love on each other, and pray for one another. And definitely check out the Discord. It's it's small now, again, because of separation, but it's gonna grow, and it's gonna be fruitful, and so I'm excited about that. But again, it won't take any more of your time. I hope you have a great rest of y'all's those who are in Shabbat, a great restful Shabbat. And then coming up to the new week, I hope y'all have a great week as well. Shalom, everyone, and remember that Abba loved you first. So
There you go.
good night, everyone.
It's your glory, conceal the mystery. You give us the honor to search a matter